Martha Lewis was 72 years old. She lived alone in a small red brick house on Willow Lane. Her days were simple. Every morning, she watered her flowers. Every afternoon, she walked to the grocery store 2 blocks away. She always smiled at the neighbors, waved at the kids playing with bicycles, and sometimes offered cookies to the postman. That morning, the sun was shining. The sky was clear blue. Martha wore her favorite sweater, the yellow one with small white buttons. She held a cloth shopping bag in one hand and slowly walked toward the store. Her knees weren't strong anymore, but her heart was. "Good morning, Miss Lewis," a teenage girl called from her porch. "Good morning, sweetie," Martha replied. With a gentle smile, she didn't know that this day would not be like the others. The grocery store was quiet as usual. Martha picked up some apples, a bag of rice, and a bottle of milk. She greeted Mr. Patel, the store owner, and handed him her list. "I'll have this ready for you in 5 minutes," Mr. Patel said kindly. Martha sat on the bench outside waiting. She looked at the trees dancing with the breeze. Birds were chirping in the distance. But then everything changed. From far away, she heard a siren, then another, then more. The peaceful street was suddenly filled with the loud sound of police. Sirens, cars rushed past the intersection, tires screeching. Blue and red lights flashed. People started coming out of their houses. "What's going on?" someone asked. "Is there a robbery?" A man shouted. "Look!" A boy pointed. "The police are stopping in front of the store." Martha stood slowly. Her heart began to beat faster. 4 police cars came to a stop right near her. Doors flew open. Officers jumped out with serious faces. Some had guns drawn. One had a megaphone. "Everyone stay where you are," an officer shouted. Martha froze. She didn't understand. "Is something wrong?" she asked softly. One of the officers looked at her. "What's your name, ma'am?" "I'm Martha." "Martha Lewis," she replied. He spoke into his radio and then looked back at her. "We have a match." Before Martha could ask what that meant, another officer stepped forward. He was tall, wore dark sunglasses, and had a deep voice. "That's her." "That's the woman in the report," he said coldly. "What report?" Martha asked, shaking. "I haven't done anything." "We received a tip about a suspicious person involved in illegal activity," the man said. "That's not true." Martha whispered, "You have the wrong person." The officer didn't blink, searched the bag. Another officer grabbed her grocery bag. Inside were only groceries in her shopping list. He looked confused. "There's nothing here," the officer said quietly. But the tall officer didn't care. "She's hiding something. People like her always are." People began recording on their phones. One young man shouted, "She's innocent. She lives on this street." "Back away!" the police shouted at the crowd. Martha raised her hands slowly. "I swear I've done nothing. You're making a mistake." The officer turned to his partner and said something quietly. Then he looked toward the black van parked at the end of the street. Inside that van, a canine dog sat quietly. Strong German shepherd, trained for years, waiting for orders. The tall officer pointed at the van. "Bring the dog," he ordered. The handler opened the back of the van. The dog stepped out calm, alert, focused. The officer looked at him and gave the command, "Attack." Gasps filled the air. The dog started running, straight toward Martha. People screamed. Martha stepped back in fear, her hands still up. "Please, please don't hurt me." The dog ran fast. His paws hit the ground with power. His eyes locked on her. His mouth opened slightly. Everyone held their breath, and then the screen faded to black. The crowd screamed. The dog ran. Martha stood still, her eyes wide, heart pounding. She had never felt this scared before. The German shepherd's strong legs hit the ground like thunder. His sharp eyes were locked on her. His powerful body moved like a machine. People in the crowd shouted. Some turned away. Others kept filming. But something strange happened. Just a few feet before reaching Martha, the dog suddenly stopped. He didn't growl. He didn't bark. He just stared. The officers were confused. The tall one yelled, What's wrong with him? Give the order again. The handler shouted once more, louder this time. Attack! But the dog didn't move. Instead, he slowly tilted his head and looked at Martha. Ely looked at her. His ears lowered. His tail dropped. His body softened. Martha stood frozen. Then something even stranger happened. The dog stepped closer to her and sat down. People gasped. He's not attacking, someone said. What's happening? Another whispered. The officers looked at each other, angry and confused. Why is he not obeying? The tall officer growled. That dog cost us thousands. He doesn't disobey. But the canine unit, named Rex, did not follow orders this time. He looked at Martha as if he remembered something, as if her face meant something to him suddenly. A memory flashed inside the dog's mind. It was a rainy evening years ago. A young German shepherd was trapped under a broken fence. He was injured, crying, hungry, scared. People passed him by, but no one stopped, except one, a woman. She was older, kind-looking, and wore a yellow sweater. She knelt down slowly, her eyes gentle, her voice soft. It's okay, baby, she had whispered, touching his muddy fur. I won't hurt you. She took the pup home, cleaned his wound, fed him, and let him sleep in a warm blanket near the fireplace. She even gave him a name, Lucky. But after a week, someone took him away. Men in uniforms came, said they had a claim on the pup. They said he belonged to the state. He was part of a training program. She cried when they took him. That pup was now Rex the canine, standing in front of her once again, and she was the woman who saved him long ago. Back on the street, the tension was thick. Why is the dog sitting? One officer asked. The handler stepped forward and tried to pull the dog back by the collar. But Rex growled not at Martha, but at the handler. Let him go, a voice said from the crowd. It was the same young man who had defended Martha before. He knows who the real threat is? Shut up, the tall officer barked. Martha finally spoke. Her voice was shaky but calm. You remember me, don't you? She said to the dog. Rex blinked once. She slowly reached out her hand. The crowd held its breath. The dog leaned forward and gently placed his head against her palm. The street went silent. Even the police didn't know what to do. In a black van down the block, a man watched everything through a camera screen. He wore a headset and spoke into a small microphone. Target. Identified, he said. The woman. But she's not who they think she is. He zoomed in on Martha's face. I need more background on her. This just got bigger than we thought. Back at the scene, the tall officer stepped forward again. This is nonsense. I don't care who she is. Get her in cuffs. Two officers moved toward Martha. Rex stood up. His ears went high. His teeth showed. He growled louder than before. Call him off, one of the cops yelled. I'm trying, the handler said, pulling the leash. But Rex refused to back down. The dog stood between Martha and the police protecting her. People cheered. That dog's got more heart than the whole department. Someone shouted. The tall officer pulled out his gun. Enough of this. Martha stepped back, trembling. Rex's growl grew deeper. But before anything could happen, a voice shouted from behind the police line. WAIT. Everyone turned. It was a young officer, the rookie. His badge looked new. His face was tense. I know her, he said. She's not dangerous. She's lived here for years. She used to help at the community center. This has to be a mistake. The tall officer looked angry. Get back in line, rookie. No, the young officer said firmly. I've seen her before. She's helped my mother with groceries. Melt. She prayed at my grandfather's funeral. The crowd began chanting, Let her go. Let her go. The tall officer clenched his jaw. He looked at the handler. Get control of that dog. Now. But the handler looked nervous. He's not listening anymore. Rex stood tall beside Martha, not barking, not biting, but ready to defend. Martha looked around at the flashing lights, the shouting crowd, the angry officers. Then she whispered to Rex, You're still my Lucky. And for the first time since the police arrived, she smiled. The sound of sirens was still ringing in the air. More people were gathering now. Some had come out of their houses. Others parked their cars nearby and joined the growing crowd. Phones were everywhere, recording everything. Martha stood quietly in the middle of the street. The canine, Rex, stood right beside her, still guarding her like a soldier. His eyes were sharp, his body ready. Police officers surrounded her. The tall officer with the dark sunglasses looked angry. The rookie officer stood near the back, unsure of what to do next. Someone in the crowd yelled, "You're going to hurt a 72-year-old woman?" Another voice shouted, "The dog knows who's right." Rex didn't move. He stayed close to Martha. The handler tried again to pull him away, but Rex growled loud this time. The handler stepped back, scared. I can't control him anymore." Tall officer's voice turned cold. "Then I'll handle it myself." He pulled his walkie-talkie and gave a sharp command. "Send backup. Full force." Martha looked around. Her knees felt weak. Her hands were shaking. She had never been in a situation like this. "Please," she said softly to the officer. "I don't know what you think I've done, but I've lived here for 40 years. Never broken the law. I only came for groceries." The officer ignored her. He raised his voice. "If she doesn't move, we'll take her by force." Gasps filled the crowd. "She's innocent," someone cried out. "She's being framed." Another voice yelled. A teenage girl near the front started crying. "That's Miss Martha. Helped my grandma when she was sick. She's the kindest person I know." Still, the officer stepped closer. Rex growled again, louder. The crowd moved in too, shouting now, "This is wrong. Leave her alone." The officers raised their hands. "Step back, or we will arrest you too." Suddenly, a loud voice from the back shouted, "I have everything on camera." Everyone turned to see a man standing on the roof of a car. He held a phone high in the air. "If you hurt her, the whole world will see it. You can't hide this." The tall officer's face turned red with anger. He pulled his gun. "Everyone back away. Final warning." Martha stepped back, shaking. "Please, Dan," she whispered. The rookie officer moved forward quickly and stood in front of her. "You're pointing a gun at an unarmed old woman," he said. "I said, get out of my way," the tall officer yelled. The rookie didn't move. "Sir, we're being watched. Think." The crowd was quiet again. All eyes were on the tall officer. Everyone waited. Would he shoot? He held his gun tight. His hand was on the trigger. Rex's body lowered, ready to jump. And just then, a scream came from the edge of the street. "Look up there." Everyone turned. On a nearby rooftop, a small red light was blinking. A drone was flying, recording from above. Someone else was watching, from far away, inside a dark room full of screens. A man in a hoodie watched the live feed from the drone. He zoomed in on the officer's face. "He's doing it again," the man said to himself. He didn't learn last time. He opened a file on the computer. It was labeled, "Case number 472, Officer Bryant. Abuse of power." The man picked up his phone. "It's happening again. Same officer, same tactics, but this time, there's a witness. And a dog." Back on Willow Lane, the standoff continued. Rex didn't blink. He watched every movement of the officer's hand. Martha stayed still, eyes wide, her breath quick. The rookie officer whispered to her, "Stay calm. I won't let anything happen to you." The crowd held their breath. And then a loud voice came from the police radio. "All units stand down. This is Chief Holden. Do not engage. Pete, do not engage the target." Everyone froze. Even the tall officer lowered his gun slowly. "Chief," he said into the radio. "What's going on?" Another voice came through. "New orders. This woman is not to be touched. The K-9 will be handled differently." "Wait for federal agents?" Martha looked confused. "Federal?" she whispered. "Why are they involved?" No one answered. The crowd started talking again. What did he mean, federal agents? She a witness or something? Something bigger is going on here. The rookie officer helped Martha sit down on the bench. Just breathe. Help is coming. Rex sat beside her again, calm, but alert. In the distance, black cars began to appear. No sirens, just quiet, dark vehicles. Slowly rolling in, the man in the hoodie closed his laptop and smiled. They don't even know who she really is, he said softly. But they're about to find out. The tall Officer Briant, stood stiff as the black cars came to a stop near the scene. 4 men in suits stepped out. No uniforms, no badges on their chest. But everyone could tell they had power. They moved with calm steps, straight toward Martha. One of them, a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes, flashed a badge. FBI. The crowd went quiet again. The man looked at Officer Bryant. You were told to stand down, yet you pulled your weapon. It was handling a suspect, Bryant replied. She's not a suspect, the agent said. She's a federal witness. Gasps rose from the crowd. Even Martha was shocked. Me? She whispered. I don't understand. The agent nodded. We'll explain everything soon. But Bryant wasn't finished. She matched a tip. He argued. Someone reported she was involved in suspicious activity. The agent's voice was firm. That report was false, and it didn't come through us. He looked right into Bryant's eyes. That report came from someone inside your own department. The rookie officer stepped forward. Sir, Officer Bryant gave the order to attack with the dog. The dog refused. It protected her. The FBI agent turned to Rex. The dog still sat beside Martha, calm but alert. He's trained for loyalty. But loyalty must be earned, the agent said. Clearly she earned it long before any of you got here. Officer Bryant looked angry now. You're making a mistake. This woman is hiding something. The agent didn't blink. The only mistake here is yours. He turned to the handler. Take the dog to our mobile unit. Gently. He'll listen to us. The handler hesitated. He's not responding to me anymore. The agent knelt down and softly whistled. Come, Rex. Dog looked at Martha first. She gave a soft nod. Rex stood and slowly walked toward the agent. Just then, black car door opened again. Out stepped a woman in her 40s. Black suit, sharp heels, glasses. She walked straight to Martha and sat beside her on the bench. Miss Lewis, she said calmly. We've been trying to find you for a very long time. Martha's voice trembled. Why? I've just lived a quiet life. I've done nothing wrong. You witnessed something 20 years ago. Something important. Something they tried to hide. Martha's hand shook. She shook her head slowly. I don't remember. You will, the woman said. And when you do, we'll protect you. Officer Bryant stepped forward again, his voice louder now. I won't just stand here and let you take over. The FBI agent looked at him. This is not your case anymore. Bryant reached for his radio. The agent's hand moved faster, pulling out his own badge again. You're already under review, Bryant. Don't make it worse. The rookie officer's eyes widened. Under review? The agent nodded. Bryant has had 3 complaints for excessive force. One internal investigation was closed quietly, but not forgotten. From across the street, a man in the crowd yelled, I saw him beat a man 2 months ago. I filmed it. Me too, another voice added. The crowd started shouting again. People pulled out phones, showing videos. Some had photos. Faces bruised, people crying. The FBI agent raised his hand. We'll take everything. Every photo, every video. This time, nothing will be hidden. Bryant looked pale. He stepped back slowly, hands shaking. He had lost control and he knew it. Martha looked up at the woman beside her. All I ever wanted was peace. I never wanted to be part of this. I know, the woman said softly. But sometimes the quiet ones hold the loudest truths. Just then, a phone rang. The agent answered. His face changed as he listened. He hung up, looked at Martha. We have a bigger problem, he said. Someone else knows who you are, and they're coming. The camera slowly zooms out as sirens echo again in the distance. This time, not from police cars. A dark SUV speeds down the highway, 3 men inside. One of them pulls out a photo of Martha. "She's still alive," he says. "Not for long," the driver replies. A storm was coming, not in the sky. But on the ground, the FBI agent stood with Martha near the bench. Rex, the K9, sat beside her, watching everything. The crowd had backed away, but phones were still in the air, recording every second. The tension was thick. Then a loud screech. A black SUV turned the corner fast, too fast. The vehicle sped toward the scene. Inside were 3 men. All wore dark clothes. One held a silencer. Another was on the phone. "She's with the feds," one man said. "We take them all out. No witnesses." The SUV didn't slow down. "Get down," the FBI agent shouted. The car came to a stop just a few feet away. Doors opened. 3 men jumped out, guns drawn. The crowd screamed and ran. "Protect the witness." The woman agent yelled. One man aimed directly at Martha. Officer Bryant, still angry and standing behind the agents, reached into his jacket quietly. He wasn't going to help. He was going to make things worse. But before he could do anything, Rex moved fast. With lightning speed, the dog leaped between Martha and the gunman. The attacker fired. Bang. The shot echoed through the street. People ducked. Martha screamed. But Rex had already hit the man's arm. Hard. The bullet missed. Rex growled fiercely, pulling the gun from the attacker's hand with his teeth. The attacker screamed in pain and fell backward. The second man raised his gun, but the rookie cop tackled him to the ground. The third man tried to escape but was blocked by the FBI agent, who fired a warning shot in the air. "Drop the weapon." The man dropped it. Chaos, but within seconds, it was over. The attackers were on the ground. One bleeding, one crying, one unconscious. Now their guns were taken. The agents surrounded Martha. "You okay?" the woman agent asked. Martha nodded, still shaking. "He saved me again." She looked at Rex. The dog walked back to her. "Come now." Tail low, ears back. He sat in front of her and looked up. She placed a trembling hand on his head. "You were never just a police dog," she whispered. "You were mine, always." The crowd started cheering. People clapped. Some even cried. "The world see," one man yelled. That dog protected her better than all those officers. But in the background, Officer Bryant moved quietly. He slipped away from the scene. Walking between the cars, no one noticed except the man in the hoodie, watching from a rooftop across the street. He lifted a small radio. "He's leaving, Bryant." "Is running," a voice replied. "Let him go, for now." Back near the bench, Martha sat down again, tears in her eyes. But this time, they were tears of shock. "In memory? I remember now," she said suddenly. Everyone turned toward her. The FBI woman leaned in. "What do you remember?" 20 years ago, Martha said slowly. "My husband was a dog trainer, worked with special units, but he saw something he wasn't supposed to." She touched Rex's fur. They tried to silence him. They said it was an accident, but I knew. I always knew it wasn't. She looked into the distance. They burned the records. Made me disappear. Changed the story. The agent nodded. "And now they know you're alive." A phone buzzed. Another agent checked the screen. "It's trending," he said. "The footage of the dog saving her. It's everywhere now. News channels already picked it up." "Good," the woman agent said. "Now the world's watching. That makes her safer." But in a dark room far away, a man stared at the same video on a large screen. He leaned back in his chair, his face cold. "She's talking," he said. "And that dog he remembers." He pressed a button. "Send in the cleaner. Make sure they don't make it to the courthouse." Back on Willow Lane, Martha looked up at the sky. "Is it finally over?" she asked. The agent shook her head. "No, this was just the beginning." While the street slowly calmed down, someone else was watching. Not from the crowd, not from a rooftop, but from inside a plain white van parked across the street. Hidden behind a row of trees inside the van, dim light flickered from 3 screens. A quiet fan hummed. and a man in a gray hoodie sat alone, eyes locked on the monitors. He wasn't part of the police. He wasn't FBI. He was something else. One of the screens showed a live feed. A close-up of Martha. Another screen showed the K9. Rex, sitting loyally by her side. A third screen showed Officer Bryant. Sneaking away, walking toward a side alley, the man in the van smirked. "Gotcha," whispered. He clicked a button, and the camera zoomed in on Bryant's face. Then he opened a hidden folder on his laptop. Dozens of names, dozens of photos. Operation. Clean step. Hidden corruption cases, and right there, in bold letters, Target 11. Bryant. Suspected cover-up. 2003. Case sealed. He picked up a voice recorder. Note. Subject attempted to remove witness again. Used unregistered attackers. Witness protected by K9 originally trained by her husband. Dog displays independent loyalty. He clicked off the recorder and looked at a blurry old photo on the screen. It showed a younger Martha standing with a man in uniform. Her husband. Back outside, the FBI agents moved Martha into a protected vehicle. She sat inside quietly, holding Rex's head in her lap. She didn't notice the van, but the van noticed her. Suddenly, one of the screens beeped. A red light started blinking. Another camera feed popped up, this one inside a hallway. A dim, cold place. Somewhere deep underground, the man in the hoodie leaned closer. A group of people sat at a long metal table. One of them wore a black mask. Another held a file. The file had a name on it. Martha Lewis, classified level 3 they were. Planning something, the man in the van spoke softly. They still think she doesn't remember. He zoomed in again. The masked man spoke something the microphone couldn't catch. But his finger pointed to a map. A red circle appeared on a courthouse building. Date. 2 days from now. Back on Willow Lane. Martha was now safely inside the FBI vehicle. The agent, a woman named Davis, sat beside her. "We're taking you to a safe house," she said. "You'll rest. We'll bring in protection. You're not alone anymore." Martha nodded. "I remembered something else. ... Agent." Davis leaned in. "What is it?" Martha's voice trembled. "Before my husband died, he told me there was a camera, a small one, hidden in his training room. He said if anything ever happened to him, that camera would show the truth." Agent Davis's eyes widened. "Where?" "Is it? In our old house," Martha said. "But it's not mine anymore. They sold it after he died." Back in the van, the man in the hoodie listened through a hidden microphone. He smiled. "I knew it," he whispered. "Why, she still knows." "Where the tape is?" He opened a second folder on his laptop. Survivor files, evidence, hunt. Subfolder blinked. K9 footage. Unreleased. He clicked it. Inside were short clips, grainy. Black and white, showing training sessions. One clip showed Martha's husband arguing with a man in a suit. There was no sound, but the anger was clear. Then, another clip, his car exploding. The screen froze on that image. The man in the van sighed. They made it look like an accident, but it wasn't. Back near the scene, the rookie officer Daniels stood alone. He looked down the alley where Bryant had escaped. Something didn't sit right with him. He pulled out his phone and sent a message. "Bryant slipped away after shooting. Need eyes on him? I don't trust this." Seconds later, a message came back. "Already watching. You're not the only one paying attention." Daniels looked around, confused. He had no idea someone else was already 10 steps ahead. The van's door opened slightly. The man in the hoodie, face still hidden, whispered into a small device. "She's not safe yet. Neither is the dog. They'll come for both." He looked at Rex's face on the screen. Loyal, calm, protective. But this time, "We'll be ready." Now the black SUV moved slowly through quiet roads outside the city. Inside, Martha sat in the back seat, holding tightly to Rex. Her hands shook. But her heart was calm for the first time in years. Agent Davis sat next to her. Watching her closely, she could tell something was changing. Martha's eyes weren't just tired now, they were remembering. "You said you remembered something," Agent Davis asked gently. "Was it about your husband?" Martha nodded slowly. His name was Elijah, she said. He trained police dogs for more than 20 years, but near the end, something scared him. She paused, holding Rex's head gently. He told me one night. Someone in his unit was using the dogs wrong. They were training them to obey illegal commands. Not just attack, but to attack without reason, to target certain people. Agent Davis listened carefully. He said he had proof, Martha continued. He said he hid a small camera inside the dog training area, said it recorded everything. Then he went silent for a few days. Martha looked down, and one morning, his car exploded. The vehicle went quiet. Agent Davis whispered, "They ruled it an accident." "I know," Martha said, "but it wasn't. That camera, the one he hid, it was never found. I think they searched the house after I was taken to the hospital. They erased everything, doled the home, changed the story. I became ... no one." Looked out the window, but I never forgot his face. Or his voice. Rex rested his head on her lap. His tail moved gently. Agent Davis took a deep breath. "We need to find that tape." Martha nodded. "It's still in the old house, hidden. In the wall, behind his metal case. I'm sure of it." Far away, in a luxury office overlooking the city, a man in a dark suit was watching the same conversation through a live feed. "How is this possible?" He said. "She remembers the camera." Another man in the room stood quietly. He thought, "We erased everything." The first man turned around. "I want that house destroyed, tonight." But they weren't the only ones listening. Back in the secret van, the man in the hoodie leaned forward. He paused the video feed and rewound it, then zoomed in on Martha's lips as she spoke the words, hidden behind the metal case. He smiled. "Got it." Picked up a satellite phone. "Team 2, get to the house before they do. Secure the tape. Use force if necessary. There's no damage to the property. The truth is inside those walls." Back in the SUV, Agent Davis's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Her face changed. "What is it?" Martha asked. Davis whispered, "Someone just triggered the motion alarm at your old home. Someone's already there." Martha's breath caught in her throat. "Is it the FBI?" "No," Davis said. "It's someone else." She tapped her earpiece. "Echo team, change course. We're heading to the old residence. Prepare for conflict." The driver nodded and turned sharply. Rex sat up. His ears twitched. He could sense it too. Danger ahead. In the shadows of the old house, a man with gloves slowly pulled the metal case from the wall. Behind it, a panel, dusty but untouched. He pulled out a small black box inside, a memory card. He smiled, but just as he turned, a flashlight shined in his eyes. "Drop it," a voice said. He froze. The man in the hoodie stepped from the shadows, holding a silenced pistol. "You got here fast," the thief said. "I never left," the hooded man replied. Outside, 2 black cars arrived. Martha stepped out, guarded on both sides. She looked at her old home, the garden overgrown, the windows dirty, but the roof still standing. She hadn't been here in 2 decades. Rex stood beside her, tail stiff. Agent Davis signaled her team. "Move in." Martha slowly walked to the front steps. She paused. "This is where everything ended," she whispered, "and where it begins again." Inside the old house, dust floated in the air. The furniture was gone. The walls were cracked. But the memories were still alive, especially for Martha. She walked through the hallway slowly, her fingers brushing the wall where her husband once hung his badge. Rex followed close behind her, sniffing the corners of the room, ears alert. Agent Davis and her team cleared each room carefully. They found no traps, no enemies. Just an old home filled with secrets. In the back room, the hooded man stood with the small black memory card in his hand. Martha entered, eyes wide. "That's it," she whispered. "That's the camera he hid." The man in the hoodie nodded. "It survived." He handed it to Agent Davis. "This might be the only video proof of what really happened to your husband," Davis said. Martha's voice shook. "Then let the world see it." Meanwhile, far across town, Officer Bryant walked into an underground parking lot. He checked his surroundings. No cameras, No sound. A man was waiting near a black car. You said this would be easy, Bryant hissed. Now the FBI's involved, and that dog, he's not ordinary. The man in the shadows replied coldly, You were told to silence her, not turn it into a street circus. Bryant stepped forward. She remembers that tape might still exist. Does, the man said. And you failed. He handed Bryant a folder. Plan B, finish it before she speaks in court. Or you'll be the one disappearing. Bryant opened the folder. Inside were pictures of Martha, of Agent Davis, even of Rex at the bottom. One sentence. Eliminate all three. Back at the old house, the memory card was placed into a secure FBI tablet. Agent Davis hit play. The video began. Grainy. Black and white footage. A small training room. Elijah, Martha's husband, stood near a German Shepherd puppy. Beside him was another man, face partly visible. They were arguing then. The man pulled out a folder and showed something to Elijah. Elijah shook his head. His lips moved. The captions tried to catch the words. This is wrong. I won't be part of it. The other man said something. Then he leaned in and whispered into Elijah's ear. Elijah's face changed. He looked stunned. Martha gasped. That man, she whispered. I've seen him before, but where? Agent Davis paused the video, zoomed in. His face became clearer. Suddenly, the hooded man stepped forward. I know him, he said. He's not just some officer. Wallace. He runs the Special Enforcement Division. Davis's eyes narrowed. He said he retired 5 years ago. He didn't, the hooded man said. He moved underground. Martha clutched Rex close. My husband knew. That's why they killed him. The video continued. A day later, Elijah walked into the training room alone. He placed something behind the metal wall right where the camera had been hidden. And then the feed went black. Agent Davis turned to her team. We need to move. Fast. Martha looked confused. Why? Where are we going? Davis replied. The courthouse hearing has been moved up. They're afraid this will leak. But I haven't spoken yet, Martha said. You will, Davis replied. But first we need to find Wallace before he finds you. That night, Officer Bryant stood outside a motel near the edge of the city. He held a phone to his ear. It'll be done tonight, he whispered. He tucked a gun into his coat and walked toward the door marked Room 6, where he believed Martha and the agent were staying. He opened the door slowly, but the room was empty. A recording played on a loop, looking for someone. Suddenly, lights flashed behind him. 3 unmarked cars boxed him in. Doors flew open. FBI agents surrounded him. Drop your weapon, they shouted. Bryant froze. From the back of the middle car, Agent Davis stepped out with Martha beside her. Rex stood on alert, growling. Martha looked Bryant in the eyes. You tried to erase me, she said, but I'm still here. Officer Bryant was cuffed and forced to his knees in the motel parking lot. His face was pale. He didn't speak. FBI Agent Davis stepped closer. Where is Chief Wallace? Bryant looked up slowly. We're already too late. Martha watched from a few feet away, Rex standing firmly at her side. Bryant chuckled. You think you've stopped this? Wallace isn't hiding, he's preparing. Agent Davis leaned in. Preparing for what? Bryant smiled faintly. For the moment she speaks, and the country burns. The agent searched Bryant's car. Inside, they found a black briefcase, locked, no ID, no keys. The tech officer brought a small tool and cracked it open. Inside were 2 things. A silenced pistol, a flash drive marked W Delta, Eyes Only Agent. Davis took the drive carefully and handed it to her team. Get this to the van. Secure connection only. Inside the FBI mobile unit, the drive was connected. A folder popped open, password protected. The tech expert looked confused. This is military grade, deep encryption. Suddenly a pop-up appeared. Voice ID required. Clearance level red. The hooded man stepped forward. Let me try, he said. Agent Davis hesitated and nodded. The man leaned close to the microphone and said, W Delta, code 617, override. The folder opened. Inside were dozens of files, photos, documents, surveillance logs, all connected to a secret program called Project Delta K9. Martha leaned forward. "What is this?" she asked. The screen showed rows of names. Some were crossed out. Others were labeled active. At the top of the list, Elijah Lewis's status, deceased Martha Lewis's status, reclassified level 3 threat Rex. K9 1197 status decommissioned. Unstable loyalty agent. Davis's eyes widened. They were experimenting on dogs, creating absolute obedience. But Elijah didn't follow the plan. And Rex, he remembered love. Another file opened automatically. Video playback. Internal briefing. A shadowy figure spoke on camera. "Some handlers are failing. The dog from Unit 1197 is showing emotional memory. He's loyal to the woman, not the command." Another voice replied, "Eliminate both." Quietly, Martha's voice broke. "They called me a threat. For being kind to a dog." Another file unlocked. W Delta expense report itemized. It listed payments, bribes, officer names, corrupt handlers at the bottom. Chief Wallace, final payment pending. Upon witness removal, Agent Davis stepped back. "It's all here. The cover-up, the orders, even the payout." Outside the van, sirens suddenly rang out again. One of the agents rushed in. "Ma'am, we've got incoming. 3 black SUVs heading this way. Fast." "Wallace?" Davis asked. "We don't know, but they're not ours." Martha stood tall. No more running. She looked down at Rex. "Are you with me, boy?" Rex barked, once strong, loud, loyal. "Agent." Davis grabbed the files and handed them to her lead agent. "Get this to headquarters. If we go down, the truth must live." The screen in the van flashed again. A message appeared. "Location exposed. Purge in progress." Martha whispered, "They know we found the file." In the distance, the black SUVs moved like shadows. Inside one of them, a man with cold eyes held a headset. "Move in. Full sweep. Eliminate everyone. Leave nothing." But inside the van, the hooded man smiled calmly. "They're walking into a trap." Pressed a button on his belt, and all around the motel, hidden lights blinked on. Infrared sensors. Ground traps. Surveillance drones in position. Agent Davis narrowed her eyes. "You planned for this?" The hooded man nodded. "They tried to erase her once. This time she speaks." Dick. The night air grew still. Too still. Martha stood near the FBI van, gripping Rex's collar. His ears twitched. His body was tense. He could feel something coming long before anyone else. The agents spread out, weapons drawn. "Positions," Agent Davis ordered. "We hold the perimeter. No one gets through." The hooded man stood calmly by the surveillance van, typing fast into a tablet. Across the motel parking lot, the black SUVs slowed to a stop. Doors opened. Men in black gear stepped out silently. No badges, no lights. Their faces were covered. Not police. Not FBI. Something else. Team Alpha. Eyes on rooftop. Davis shouted, "Team Bravo, hold north corner!" But even with all the agents ready, something felt wrong, too quiet. Rex growled low. Then crack. A bullet hit the pavement. Screams, another shot. Windshield shattered. The siege had begun. "Get down," Davis yelled. Martha dropped behind the van, covering her head. Rex stayed by her side like a shield, eyes locked forward. Bullets flew. From the rooftops, from behind dumpsters, from cars. This wasn't a warning. It was a full attack. The hooded man didn't flinch. He spoke into his earpiece. "Begin phase 2. Suddenly, parking lot lights shut off. Total darkness. Only the soft red glow of the drones lit the scene now. The attackers paused, confused. Then, one of them triggered a pressure trap near the van. Smoke exploded. Outside, the fight grew louder. The enemy had numbers. They fired smoke grenades, trying to block the agent's vision, but they didn't know about. Rex, he barked once sharp and focused, then ran straight into the fog. "Martha, wait." Davis shouted. but Martha followed him. Inside the smoke, Martha moved slowly. She heard coughing, gunfire, footsteps. Then she saw him. Chief Wallace, standing in the smoke. Pistol drawn, walking toward her slowly. "You should have stayed gone." "Martha," he said coldly. "You should have stayed human," she replied. Wallace aimed his weapon, but he didn't see Rex behind him. Rex leaped. Crash. Wallace dropped the gun, hit the ground hard. The pistol skidded toward Martha. She picked it, up hand shaking. "I don't want to hurt anyone," she said. Wallace smiled cruelly. "That's why you'll lose." Just then a drone hovered above. It projected a giant screen in the sky. Live video. From the memory card, the footage played publicly, now streaming to every news station across the country. Elijah's secret recordings. The truth. The cover-ups. The orders to erase innocent people. Wallace's face turned pale. Martha held the pistol steady. "Looks like the whole country is watching now," she said. Sirens howled in the distance. Real police. Real FBI backup. Real media. Wallace tried to run, but Rex stood in his path. No barking this time, just a calm stare and stillness. Red and blue lights just across the motel lot. Police cars. News vans. Helicopters above. What started as a secret mission was now a national story. Martha stood in the middle of it, all her coat torn, face smudged with dust, but her eyes strong. Beside her stood Rex, calm and watchful like a soldier who had finally completed his duty. Agent Davis placed a hand gently on Martha's shoulder. "You did it."
Oh.
"No," Martha replied softly. "We did it." On a giant screen set up by the FBI media unit, the leaked footage played again. The world was watching. The recordings from Elijah's hidden camera played over and over on live TV. People saw the faces of the corrupted officials. They saw Chief Wallace giving the secret orders. They saw Officer Bryant targeting innocent citizens. They saw the documents, the payout files, the lies, the death reports, and most of all, ... they saw a quiet woman and a loyal dog bring it all down. In living rooms across the country, people cried. Some clapped, some shouted, "Justice." One child turned to his mother and said, "She's like a real-life hero." At the FBI command van, Agent Davis received a message. "The White House is calling," someone whispered. She handed Martha a phone. A kind voice on the other side said, "Miss Lewis, we owe you an apology and a thank you." Martha didn't know what to say. For years she was erased, ignored, left in silence, and now the world had finally heard her. Later that night, Officer Bryant was taken into custody, face down, surrounded by cameras. Chief Wallace was flown to a federal holding center. His final words? "This won't stop the others." Meanwhile, the hooded man stood on a nearby rooftop. He removed his hood for the first time. He was young, maybe mid-30s, calm eyes, a small scar above his left brow. He watched Martha from afar, then whispered into his earpiece, "She's safe. Upload the rest." Another voice answered, "Copy, beginning full data drop. Let the truth live." Within hours, the files from Project Delta K9 were uploaded to secure public networks. Whistleblowers came forward. Retired officers admitted the truth. Other witnesses, once afraid, began speaking out. A wave had started and it wouldn't stop. The next morning, Martha sat on a hospital bed, sipping warm tea. She was okay, tired but safe. Agent Davis came in with a smile. "You have a visitor," she said. Rex walked in with a new vest on his back. It read, "Service dog, VIP protection, honor status." Gah. He jumped onto the bed and laid beside her. Martha looked into his eyes. "I don't know how you remembered me," she whispered. Rex gently licked her hand. "I guess some bonds can't be trained. They're just born." That evening, Martha gave a short interview on live TV. Simple words. Nothing dramatic. She didn't want fame. She didn't want revenge. She just wanted truth. Her final words to the reporter were quiet but strong. "Sometimes The smallest voices carry the loudest truth. If you let them speak. In the background, Rex stood behind her, tail still, eyes alert, and the world watched. In silence, the sun rose slowly over the city, a new day, but not a peaceful one. The footage had gone viral, the documents had been leaked, and now the system was cracking. Inside the FBI safe house, Martha sat quietly in the corner of a large room. She held a framed photo of Elijah, her late husband, the man who gave everything to protect people and who paid for it with his life. Rex sat. Near her feet, still and alert, Agent Davis entered the room with a serious face. "Martha," she said softly, "we need to talk." Martha looked up. "Is it over?" Davis hesitated. "No, it's just beginning." News stations were buzzing. Senators were demanding answers. Police departments were reviewing old cases. And underground groups tied to Wallace's project were vanishing. But not all reactions were good. Davis placed a folder in front of Martha. Inside were screenshots of threats, online messages, emails, pictures of Martha's house from unknown accounts. "They're scared," Davis said, "and desperate." Outside, extra guards were placed around the building. Surveillance drones circled above. But even with all the protection, Martha knew truth came with a price. That afternoon, a man in a dark hoodie slipped into an alley behind the courthouse. He dropped a phone into a storm drain, then lit a small fire and burned a file. The page on top read, "Witness, Martha Lewis. Status confirmed. Eliminate within 48 hours." He walked away without looking back at the safe house. The hooded man, Martha's silent protector, stood in the shadows behind the control room. He received a new report. Another Delta operative spotted. "In city limits, unknown target," he whispered into his mic. "Watcher, double the guard." Then he paused and uploaded the last file, the one she never saw. In her room, Martha was handed a tablet. She tapped the screen. A new video loaded. It was grainy but familiar. It showed Elijah, her husband, sitting at his desk. He looked straight into the camera. His voice was tired but calm. "Martha, you're seeing this. It means I'm gone. And they're still chasing you. I didn't want this for you. I just wanted to train dogs. But when I saw what they were doing, using loyalty as a weapon, I had to stop it. I know you're stronger than you think. I know you'll finish what I started. I love you, and if Rex is with you, then I know you're not alone." Martha covered her mouth. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Rex rested his head in her lap, and in that quiet moment, Martha made a choice. No more fear, no more hiding. She stood up, looked at Agent Davis, and said, "I want to speak in front of Congress, Davis." Blinked. "Are you sure? That's a national broadcast. Once you go up there, there's no going back." Martha nodded. "I didn't survive all this just to stay silent again." Far away, in a glass tower, a group of men watched the news in silence. One of them poured a drink. "Let her talk," he said. "It won't matter." Another man looked at a map filled with red dots. "She's just the beginning," he whispered. And, in the shadows of the city, someone followed a guard on his way home. The camera zoomed in on a message written on a wall in red spray paint. "Truth has a cost." The day had come. The U.S. Capitol stood tall in the morning light, surrounded by heavy security. News vans lined the streets. Cameras were set up. Journalists whispered into microphones. Everyone was waiting inside. In a private room behind the main chamber, Martha Lewis stood quietly. She wore a simple gray coat and clutched a worn-out photo of Elijah in her hands. Rex sat beside her, calm. Watchful. Agent Davis entered with a tablet. "Your speech is ready," she said softly. "But it's your story. Say it your way." I smiled faintly. "I didn't come all this way to read a script." "Oh." Davis nodded, stepping back in another building across the street. Chief Wallace sat in a cold, locked cell. He stared at a small screen showing Martha's face as she prepared to walk into the hearing. "She doesn't know what she started," he muttered. A guard turned to him. "You underestimated her." Wallace looked at the guard. "No, We underestimated the dog. Back at the Capitol, Martha stood just outside the hearing chamber. A clerk opened the door. "You're up." Martha took a deep breath. She looked. Down at Rex, he stared up at her with steady eyes. She whispered, "Let's finish this, together." As she walked into the chamber, silence fell. Dozens of senators, government leaders, national press, millions watching live. She stepped up to the microphone. She cleared her throat, then began. "My name is Martha Lewis. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a politician. I was a wife. A dog trainer's wife. And for 20 years I was forgotten. Husband Elijah was murdered for exposing something he knew was wrong, and I was nearly erased with him. They said I was weak, old, confused, but I remembered. And Rex, the dog they trained to forget, he remembered too." The room was completely silent. Even the cameras stopped clicking. Only her voice filled the air. The truth is simple. They used loyalty as a weapon. They trained dogs to follow illegal commands. They trained officers to lie. And when someone stood up, they were silenced. But here's what they didn't plan for. Loyalty stronger than fear. A memory deeper than command. And a woman who refused to stay quiet. Tears formed in people's eyes. Some senators lowered their heads outside the building. The speech streamed live to giant screens. People clapped. Some cried. Some whispered, "She's right." Suddenly, inside the Capitol security room, alarms flashed. An officer shouted, "We've got a breach." Roof level. On the rooftop, a masked man aimed a silencer rifle at the window facing the hearing chamber. His finger touched the trigger. Then, GRRRR. Rex, somehow ahead of security, had found the attacker. He leapt crash. The rifle flew off the edge. "Actor!" Rolled across the roof. Rex pinned him down. Seconds later, chains flooded the rooftop and secured the shooter. Inside, the audience had no idea what had just been prevented. But Martha paused mid-speech, as if she felt it. She smiled gently. "Even now, he protects me." Back in the hearing, she finished her words. "This story is not just mine. It belongs to every forgotten voice, every covered-up truth, every loyal soul, trained to obey, but born to love. My name is Martha Lewis, and this is just the beginning." Thunderous applause shook the room. People stood to their feet. One senator whispered, "This will change everything." Across the country, headlines appeared. "Martha Lewis breaks silence. K9 hero saves witness again. Truth over power, but in a hidden underground room." Someone watched the news. A new face. Unknown. Calm. He picked up a phone and said, "Project Delta may be dead, but Project Echo just woke up." The world was still reacting. Martha Lewis's speech had shaken the country. Across cities, protests formed. News anchors called her brave. Politicians promised change, but not everyone celebrated. Far beneath the surface, in a hidden base, something darker stirred. A sleek room. No windows. Cold steel walls. A group of people stood around a long table. No names, no ranks. Just silence. In the center was a red file marked Echo Protocol Level Black. Authorized only a woman in a sharp gray suit opened the file. Her voice was quiet, but firm. "The Delta program is over. But we were prepared for exposure." Echo was designed for moments like this. On the screen behind her, images appeared. Martha Lewis at the hearing, Agent Davis, leaving the Capitol. Rex sitting proudly at Martha's side, the hooded man. "Blurred and unknown," the woman pointed. "These 4 must be monitored. Silenced if necessary." A man across the room frowned. "But the public loves her now. She's a hero." The woman's eyes narrowed. "Then we destroy the story, twist it, blame it on a rogue operation, then erase what's left." Back at the FBI safe house, Agent Davis was reviewing files when her phone buzzed. An anonymous message appeared. "They're coming." Not Delta. Something new. Echo. She stared at the word. Echo. She turned to the hooded man who stood by the window. "Does that name mean anything to you?" He froze. then slowly replied, "Yes, it means they were ready." Truth ever got out. Meanwhile, Martha was at a hotel under heavy guard. She sat with Rex on the floor, brushing his fur gently. Her phone lit up with messages of love and thanks from people all over the world, but one message stood out. It was short. No name, just 3 words. "You're still marked." That night, a drone flew silently over the hotel roof. It scanned the room windows. One screen showed Martha, another showed Rex, another Agent Davis walking down a hallway. Inside the hidden control room echo, agents watched the live feed. One typed a command: "Begin Phase 1. Shift the narrative." The next morning, news reports changed suddenly. Some stations questioned Martha's story. Is Martha Lewis telling the whole truth? New leaks suggest FBI cover-up who really trained the dog. Agent Davis stared at the screen. Furious, they're trying to confuse the public. The hooded man nodded. Echo doesn't erase with bullets. They erase with doubt. Meanwhile, someone hacked the original memory footage. The video now had strange edits to Elijah's voice. Cut. Parts blurred. Online, people argued. Is it real? Was she lying? Did someone fake it all? Martha watched from her room, heart heavy. They're undoing everything, she whispered. Rex leaned against her leg, but she wasn't. Broken, she stood slowly and looked at Davis and the hooded man. We need to find who's running and stop them before they silence someone else. Back in the hidden base, the woman in the gray suit smiled. She's fighting back again. A voice behind her asked, "Do we eliminate her?" The woman replied coldly, "No. We erase her truth. Then we offer her a choice. Join us or vanish." Fell quietly against the hotel windows, Martha sat alone in the dark, her hand resting on Rex's head. The world outside had changed again. The story she fought so hard to tell was now being pulled apart at it. Twisted, questioned. First they tried to silence her with fear. Now they were trying to erase her with confusion. A knock came at the door. 3 soft taps. Agent Davis entered. Holding a small envelope, no return address, no fingerprints. Only one thing written on the front. For Martha, final offer. Martha opened it slowly. Inside was a letter typed in bold black font. You've been brave. But bravery comes at a cost. You can be remembered as a tired woman with a sad story. You can work with us, control the narrative, and protect what remains. You'll be safe. You'll be silent. And the past will be buried. You have 24 hours to decide. Agent Davis looked angry. They want you to surrender, disappear, become part of their lie. Martha said nothing for a long moment. Then finally whispered, "They're giving me a choice." Outside the hotel, the hooded man monitored new data. 3 Echo operatives had entered the city. 2 drones were circling above. 1 black van was parked 3 blocks away, running, watching. "They're not waiting for an answer," he said into his mic. "They're watching her every move." Martha sat on the bed, deep in thought. She opened the box Elijah had left her long ago. Inside was a medal, a journal, and a small silver whistle. She held the whistle to her lips, but didn't blow it. Instead, she opened the journal. On the very first page, Elijah had written in his own hand, "The truth costs everything, but silence costs more." Martha closed the book. Then she looked at Rex. His eyes, as always, were steady. "Loyal, I'm done hiding," she said. Later that night, she walked into the FBI command van with Davis and the hooded man. "I'm going to respond," she said. Davis turned toward her. "You mean right back?" "No," Martha said. "I mean live." On every screen, one last broadcast. My voice unedited. One final time. The hooded man tapped into a secure satellite stream. "We'll hijack the Echo network," he said. "They've been using it to change the story. We'll use it to tell the real one." Davis stared at Martha. "Once you go live, they'll come for you. Fast." Martha nodded. "I'm not afraid of them anymore. I've already lost everything that mattered. Except the truth." Across the city, inside the Echo control room, alarms suddenly beeped. Firewall cracked. A red message flashed on their screens. Incoming unauthorized transmission. The woman in gray froze. Trace it now. But it was too late. On millions of screens, phones, TVs, even highway billboards, Martha's face appeared. She stood straight. Calm, strong. Her voice echoed across the country. They gave me a choice. Be silent or be erased. But I've already made mine. I won't disappear. I won't lie. I won't stop speaking. Not for comfort, not for money, not for safety. My name is Martha Lewis, I remember. And now, so will you. The message cut through every shadow Echo had created. And at the end of the broadcast, Martha looked into the camera and said 3 final words. Come find me. Back in the Echo base, the woman in gray crushed the letter Martha had received. She's going public? One agent replied, she's daring us to respond. The woman smiled coldly. Then we will. Looked at the map of the city. Send the unit, full force. End this. Outside the hotel, Rex stood facing the darkness. His ears twitched. Something was coming in this time. It would be war. The city was asleep, but Martha Lewis was wide awake. She stood on the hotel rooftop, wind brushing against her gray coat. In her hand was Elijah's silver whistle. Round her neck, his dog tag. Rex sat beside Hercom, silent but alert below.
Ow!
Black vans began to pull in from every direction Echo had come. Inside the command van, Agent Davis stared at a flashing screen for squads. Rooftop snipers? They're surrounding her, she said. The hooded man, hands flying over the controls, replied she wanted them to come. Now we give them a stage they can't control. He hit a key. A message appeared. On millions of devices, live Martha Lewis. The final truth on rooftops. Echo snipers whispered commands. Target acquired. Dog present. Do not fire until ordered. Through a scope, one sniper focused on Martha's heart, but she didn't flinch. She blew the whistle once long and sharp. The sound was soft. It carried. Rex stood, tail high, eyes locked. He was ready. The Echo commander in the lead van barked orders. Move in, grab her alive if possible. Eliminate the animal. As they charged into the building, Davis and her agents moved fast, blocking stairwells, jamming signals. Outside, civilians started to gather. Watching the stream on giant screens, people began chanting her name. Martha, Martha. On the rooftop, the first Echo agent stepped out of the stairwell. He aimed at Rex. Bang. Rex dodged, then leapt fast, precise, fearless. He tackled the man, disarming him in seconds. Another agent rushed out, banklang. A bullet hit Martha's shoulder. She staggered, but didn't fall. Blood stained her sleeve, but she raised her voice into the microphone pinned to her coat. You can kill my body, but not the truth. And if this dog who was trained to obey hate can choose love, then so can the world. Where Echo agents reached the rooftop, Rex fought like lightning, agile, protective, unstoppable. But he was outnumbered. He took a hit to the leg, yelped, fell. Martha screamed, Rex! She crawled across the rooftop, pulling his body close. Blood on her hands, tears in her eyes. Stay with me. Stay. Then she saw at his eyes. Still. Open, still loyal. His paw rested on her hand, and then his head slowly lifted. A soft bark escaped his mouth. One last bark. Strong. The hooded man in the van whispered, he's still fighting. He pressed a button. The whistle footage, the rooftop footage, the injuries, now the gunfire. It was now live. Everywhere. People across the world saw it in real time. A wounded woman, a loyal dog, and a system that tried to bury them both, and they stood back up. Echo agents froze as backup. Sirens screamed from every corner. True FBI, military command, federal justice officers. The Echo commander barked, abort, fall back. But it was too late. They were surrounded, captured, unmasked, exposed. Martha was taken to a hospital. Rex lay beside, her bandaged, breathing slow but steady, doctor said. He might not walk again. She smiled gently. He doesn't need to walk, she whispered. He already carried the world. 1 week later, the president stood on live television. He held a medal in his hand. We failed Martha Lewis. We failed her husband. And we almost lost the truth. He bent down and placed the medal on Rex's vest. For loyalty. For courage. For choosing love over hate. Martha stood beside Rex, her arms still in a sling. Reporters surrounded her. One asked, "What now?" She smiled. "I'm going to live quietly," she said. "But I'll never stop speaking. If someone tries to silence the truth again." Far away, in a cold cell, the woman in gray from Echo sat in silence. A guard slid a note under the door. She opened it for words. The dog remembered everything. She smiled bitterly. So did the world, somewhere in a peaceful park. Months later, Rex walked slowly beside Martha, still limping, still proud, and when a little boy ran up to pet him, he wagged his tail.